Well, it's always a pleasure to greet the media. We have a kind of a routine week here at the County Council. We're looking forward to a discussion of Hispanic Heritage Month, and Councilmember Navarro has taken the lead and has invited a number of prominent community leaders who will reflect upon the state of our Latino community in Montgomery County, and awards will be presented to leaders who have made substantial contributions to the welfare, the bienestar of the Hispanic community. I think the most extraordinary gestures of inclusion and welcome were made last week by the Holy Father, Pope Francis. I had the opportunity with my wife to attend the Mass at the National Basilica on Wednesday. It was just a sublime experience for everyone there, and I very much appreciated that the majority of the Mass was in Spanish. The Pope is clearly sending a signal, as he said when he arrived at the White House, that he himself is the children of immigrants and that the United States is a nation of immigrants. I think that that's a message that is extremely well received and timely. I want to congratulate WMATA. I think WMATA, I'm one who has been quick to criticize WMATA, but when it does well, we ought to say so. And my experience getting in and out of the Brookland Metro Station was just terrific, couldn't have been better. And WMATA staff was very present and very polite and courteous, but also very effective and efficient in guiding riders on and off the tracks and in and out of the station. To my eye, everything functioned just extremely well on Wednesday. I want to restate, heavy focus, I think, on the Latino community today. I want to restate that I am accompanying County Executive Leggett in early November to El Salvador for the second visit of the Montgomery County Sister Cities Initiative. Montgomery County, Maryland is a sister city with the Department of Morazan, El Salvador. And I accompanied County Executive Leggett on the first trip of the Sister Cities effort in 2011, and it is now 4 years later. I'm going back to ensure that the Sister Cities relationship is more than symbolic, that we are actually making a difference in assisting residents in that community, with the hope that overall stabilizing conditions in Morazan may reduce the desire of people who live there to flee. If you have a stable and safe and healthy community, then that is the most effective way to address the issue of migration. We should not be building walls between ourselves and our allies and trading partners to the south. We should be doing what we can to assist and stabilize. And so in that regard, I'm heading up an effort to improve the standard of care at the hospital in San Francisco Gotera. And I hope to be bringing down with us some medical equipment, and I'm also raising funds with the hope of assisting that hospital and improving the public health environment in Morazan, El Salvador. I would be very pleased to get some media coverage of this, because I'm hoping that our Montgomery County community will support this effort and understand the relationship between the conditions back in El Salvador and the motivation that residents have to flee. We welcome immigrants from all over the world, but we also, certainly when people arrive with language barriers and coming without resources of their own, it can be a strain on our schools in particular and on local government. So we want to stabilize the country back home. So in that regard, I hope individuals will join me in bringing resources to the hospital in San Francisco Gotera. So that's what I wanted to start by saying, and I'm interested in learning whatever's on your minds.
In terms of police body cameras, I know the Public Safety Commission will be talking about that. Have you seen what will be submitted to the Public Safety Commission today, or committee rather?
I haven't seen it yet. There has been an effort to make sure that privacy concerns are addressed. The State Commission on Body Cameras is going to submit its recommendations to the Maryland Police Training Commission this week, and that will provide a model policy that, as far as I know, our county department will want to follow. So we want the body cameras to proceed. We also understand that there will be circumstances in which police interaction with community members involves privacy concerns and probably should not be discoverable or releasable under the Public Information Act. And the whole interaction between the Body Camera Initiative and the Maryland Public Information Act is very heavily dealt with in this report by the State Commission on Body Cameras.
Have you heard any concerns about rank and file officers wearing the cameras? Have they been willing to under the pilot program so far?
I've not discussed this with rank and file officers. Every time I've spoken with the chief about it, which we have, he's indicated that he's getting volunteers and that the pilot is getting good participants. But that would be a good question to follow up with the police department on.
Last week I spoke to both Mr. Shalek and Mr. Hucker about the Board of Elections
Indeed.
shift.
Right.
And Mr. Shalek says, look, we moved it to an area that didn't have a chance to have early voting before. This is not voter suppression. That's just not a viable criticism. What's your feeling on the shift?
Mr. Shalek is misrepresenting what occurred. There is no reason to move these early voting sites away from locations that have gotten abundant participation. The idea that you would move to Brookville is on its face preposterous. The purpose of making early voting sites available is that they are accessible to more voters, not fewer voters. With the entire county council is unanimously shocked by the County Board of Elections' evidently partisan decision to make early voting more difficult rather than facilitated.
And what's next? I understand Chris Van Hollen has even, Congressman Van Hollen's gotten involved in asking the State Board of Elections to reverse that. Are you getting any word from the State Board? Or?
The State Board of Elections will meet this Thursday at 2 p.m. Our Government Operations Committee is meeting also Thursday, is that correct? What is the time of the Government Operations Committee meeting?
At 9:30
in the morning. So I want to defer to that committee's chairman, Councilmember Nancy Navarro. What I would anticipate, the exact nature of it, I think Councilmember Navarro will be in the lead of developing, but I think the entire Montgomery County Council is as of one mind on this, and that the County Council likely will be expressing its views strongly to the State Board.
Sir, can you update us as to the pesticides bill?
Yes, sure. So the pesticides bill will come before the full County Council a week from tomorrow on October 6th, and I do not support the changes made by the Transportation, Infrastructure, Energy, and Environment Committee last week, although I think that the bill that they produced represents a positive step forward from where we are today. The number of complaints that I hear from constituents about children and pets in particular suffering adverse health effects from exposure to toxic lawn chemicals is persuasive to me. And I know that there are mechanisms whereby homeowners can have beautiful lawns without poisoning the very lawn that they seek to improve. We have an excellent video that we've just released today from Mike McGrath, who is a garden expert and he frequently appears on WTOP radio. And he strongly supports my bill, and he thinks that it's an excellent way to instruct homeowners about better methods for keeping your lawn healthy and green. And that video is, we tweeted it this morning, and it's available for anyone who wants to look at. So I'm delighted to have Mike McGrath's support. I respect him, and I'm optimistic that the full council will pass a bill substantially stronger and more prohibitive than the committee's recommendation.
What do you think of that op-ed in the Post? I mean, the editorial in the Post that ran yesterday.
Yeah. You know, I thought that it took an unnecessary swipe at the pleasant suburb in which I've lived since 1985. I don't know why it felt the need to swipe at a suburban community which represents a lot of its subscribers. I thought it digressed a lot. You know, the writer of the editorial seems to have some feelings that he wanted to work out rather than really dealing with the evidence that toxic lawn chemicals are harmful to children, pets, and our water supply. I don't understand why he needed, and I say he because I know who wrote it, why he felt the need to be so dismissive and you know, kind of express contempt for environmental activists.
Who wrote it? Do you know?
They remain anonymous. I mean, you could find out yourself. I don't want to pick a fight with the Washington Post editorial board. Maybe I've already done that.
Do you think you have the votes to pass a version of your bill?
I do.
Do you see it as the general ban on private lawns
I do.
remaining?
I do.
And do you still see a compromise on playing fields?
Yes, I think there will be a compromise on playing field.
Do you have any concerns about the lawsuit that's been filed regarding the Silver Spring Transit Center and the participation of one of the board members working with Parsons Brinkerhoff?
I'm glad that was brought to light. I thought that was good reporting on the part of the journalists who broke that story. I think there has been a long-standing close relationship, obviously, between WMATA and Parsons Brinkerhoff, and I'm glad that it's come to light publicly. And Parsons Brinkerhoff will be held accountable in the courts, and it's our hope that Montgomery County's position will prevail and that the taxpayers will be held harmless once the litigation, finally runs its course. We don't know how long that will take.
You got a groundbreaking this Thursday for the homeless shelter?
Progress Place. Could I just say one more thing? I don't have any reason to think that the long-standing close relationship between WMATA and Parsons Brinkerhoff, which is well documented, is in any way contributory to Parsons Brinkerhoff's negligence in the design of the transit center. I don't think there's necessarily a relationship between those things. I think that there was a concern that WMATA might be insufficiently motivated to recoup costs, and I don't have any evidence that that's taking place, but I think the concern over conflict of interest is more that WMATA would somehow try to, shield or protect its longtime contractor from the consequences of Parsons Brinkerhoff's very severe mistakes in designing the facility. I don't think the relationship had anything to do with Parsons Brinkerhoff's making the mistakes. Is that clear?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're
Right.
saying. Yeah.
Progress Place, and your question about Progress Place
What
is?
can you tell us about it? How significant is this? I know it's been a long time coming.
Well, the county is investing in 24 units of housing to enable clients to leave behind the condition of homelessness. And in the long run, Progress Place will be a new and modern shelter facility at the ground level. But our goal really with the homeless population is not shelter. Our goal is stable permanent housing, and so there are 24 units of housing in this building, and we work with landlords around the county to try to place people permanently. But it was necessary to rebuild Progress Place to accommodate the Purple Line. Now we know that the Purple Line is actually going to happen, and I just think that this is a good project. It's well sited. It's behind the fire station, so I don't think you'll have adverse reactions from the community. I think the Silver Spring community understands the need for Progress Place and welcomes it, and it provides essential services, and it helps clients get their lives back in order. Anything else?
One of our TV people here has asked that you comment on the potential expanded hours on food trucks.
Sure.
And we have asked about concern of some traditional restaurants and what effect it might have on them.
Yeah, I don't think the communities that have experimented with food trucks, and I don't have data on this, but certainly they're expanding the use of food trucks in Washington, D.C. and many other cities. My sense is that food trucks lend an active street life that in the long run is better for retailers and restaurants in the area that people are attracted to. Once you come to a neighborhood and you enjoy something to eat in downtown Silver Spring or downtown Wheaton or downtown Bethesda, I think it makes you feel better about that community and more likely to return to visit the restaurants there. People want variety and diversity in their choices of food. Nobody wants to eat the same thing every day. So we're supporting this bill to expand the hours. It was a proposal that first came from students at Wheaton High School as part of the county's innovation program, and Council members Reamer and Navarro took up this initiative that the students asked them to take up, and my expectation is that the Fed committee will approve it and that we will pass it in the full council.
Are you concerned about the opposition put forth by the Silver Spring Chamber and the Restaurant Association of Maryland?
I think that this bill is benign, and I don't think restaurants will suffer. Anything else? Great. I really do appreciate everybody coming to these weekly meetings. Good to see you.
Thanks.